My name is Mark Hardy from Weald Dairy. We've been making cheese almost 30 years from sheep's milk and cow milk and goat's milk. This little video is part of the specialist organised by the Specialist Cheese Making Association and the Academy of Cheese, and the idea is really to promote the sale of English cheeses, because many cheesemakers are suffering quite hard in the current market with lockdown, and we need more people to buy good quality English cheeses. Today I'm going to show you how to make halloumi cheese, and halloumi cheese we've been making for, as I say, almost 30 years using both sheep's milk, which I've got today, and a mixture of sheep and cow milk. We're just going to talk about what cheese making equipment you need before you start. The first thing you need is a thermometer, and temperature is really important in cheese making. A lot of cheese making kits come with a glass thermometer like this. These are perfectly alright, but they're not particularly accurate, and I would try and avoid them if you can. The second one you can get are these milk frothing thermometers, as I call them, and these are with a little handle, and they're non-digital, but they're very accurate, and they're waterproof, so you can drop them in the milk without a problem at all. And then you've got the digital thermometer, which is something like that one. We like digital thermometers because they're the most accurate, and do buy a waterproof one because you always end up dropping it in the milk at some point. And you can also use it for other things as well, like testing your meat has achieved the right temperature, etc. as well. So it's not a total, not dedicated only to cheese making. So that's the key things there. We also need rennet. It's actually produced by a mushroom, a fungus, that produces a rennet that's very similar to animal rennets. But it doesn't mean our cheese is suitable for vegetarians as well. And also it's not genetically modified as well, so it's organic or soil association approved, which we like, because most of our cheese is organic as well, or we use organic milk for it. So rennet, really important. Keep your rennet in the fridge. Don't only buy what you need, and we use tiny amounts of it, as you'll see in a minute. We also need salt, and here we've just got normal kitchen salt. In England, we're lucky we've got both fine sea salt, and it hasn't had iodine added to it, so it's perfectly okay for cheese. So that's all right. We need a jug, scooping our curds. We need a sieve, because part of our halloumi cheese making process we're going to make ricotta as well, which is a second cheese, a cheese for nothing else, as I say. And ricotta is a whey cheese, so we'll show you how you do that in the end. So the other equipment, we've got a nice slotted spoon here for stirring our milk. We've got a palette knife, as I call it, which is what we're going to use to cut the curd. It's got to be something that reaches the bottom of your saucepan, so it can be a sharp knife as well. We've also got some measuring spoons here to measure the rennet. We like to measure the rennet really precisely. I've also got a syringe here, which is all measured out with 3 mils in it. If you haven't got a syringe, you can just use normal kitchen utensils, measuring spoons. Half a teaspoon is normally 2.5 mil, and that's 2.5 to 3 mil is about the amount of rennet you need for coagulating, setting 10 litres of cow's milk. So finally, the other equipment that we need for making cheese. Cheese molds. Halloumi is best if you can make it in square shapes as you buy it. It's always in a square block. We've got some proper cheese molds here. Lots of holes in them, and we can use these to press the curd. If you haven't got access to these, quite often I use an ice cream container, 2 litre ice cream container. What you can do with one of these is drill some holes in the bottom, lots of holes in the bottom and side, and then we can line that with some cheesecloth, some muslin, some fine cheesecloth, like so, and then the curds go into that, and we can fill up another tub with 2 litres of warm water, hot water, and they fit in the top, and they can act as your pressure, because you need to press the curd, and that works very well as well, so perfectly okay to use that. The only other thing we've got is some water, and we've got water to add to dilute our rennet. We like to, if you put neat rennet in your milk, you have to be very careful about it. It can set the milk too quickly, and by diluting it in some water, you get around that problem. So I've just got about 100 mils of water to use in with my rennet. When you're heating milk in a saucepan, don't put too much heat on it to start with. So obviously milk coming out of the fridge is about 4 or 5 degrees centigrade. You don't want to put full power on it, heat, because obviously it'll start burning on the bottom of the pan. So turn the heat on, but have a low to medium heat, and stir it occasionally like so. And keep an eye on it. When the temperature gets up to 32, 33, turn the heat off. And if you're cooking on induction hob, that's fine, you can leave it on there. But if it's a hot plate, do take that saucepan off and put it on the table alongside it, because obviously there's a lot of latent heat in that, and that temperature you'll find will rise as you go. Now I've added the rennet to the milk. We check the temperature about 32.5. Between 32 and 33 is ideal for setting the rennet. Do stir your milk. I normally stir it for at least 1 minute, up and down. Make sure the rennet is well incorporated. Once you're happy you've set the milk, then what we do is shake off the last of the milk, put the lid on it. So we're going to leave this saucepan undisturbed, and it's really important not to move the saucepan. Once you've added the rennet, do not disturb the milk, because what you'll do is you'll break up that coagulation, the set, and you'll lose yield, and you'll get a rubbery curd developing. So what we expect to see in about half an hour, 40 minutes, is coagulated milk. So when we lay our back of our finger on the milk, instead of being milky, instead of being liquid, should come out as sort of rubbery and bouncy. It'll be coagulated. What I like to do now is pop my finger in and just lift it vertically out. And you can see as I do that, you get the curds just part nicely, get a nice clean break. And that's what we're after, the clean break. And we now know the curd is ready to cut. If it was slightly mushy, if it wasn't getting cutting cleanly, we would leave it 10 minutes and come back after 10 minutes and check it again. Very important to cut the curd at the right point. We now cut the curd right down to the bottom, pull that forward, cut about 1 centimetre cube is what we're after. Like so. And then we do right angles to that as well. As soon as we start cutting, the whey starts to bleed out, and you get this yellowy liquid coming out. As the curds are cut, more and more whey will come out. That's what we're looking for. And then we've got to do the horizontal cut. Effectively, ideally in an ideal world, we cut horizontally all the way down in nice cubes. Obviously we can't do that in a round saucepan. So unless you've got a curd knife such as this, a heart, cheese heart, which you can get, you do it just with a knife. And start horizontally and just work your way down, all the way down to the bottom, like so. And then spin the saucepan around again. Oops. And then we do that again. And then once we've done that, we let the curds and whey, we let it rest for about 15 minutes. So the result of all the cutting, you can see the nice yellowy liquid on the surface, and we've got 1-inch cubes, soft cubes like that. And that's pretty well perfect. So we're now going to leave the curds in there, give it 10-15 minutes for the whey to start coming out, and then what we've got to do is start scalding the curds in the whey. after 10 minutes of resting the curds in the whey. The idea is to rest the curd because that allows the whey, some of the liquid, the yellowy liquid, to start coming out. At this point we want to start heating the curds. We want to scald the curd. We want to take the heat of the curds in the whey from 32 up to 36 degrees centigrade. This is a sheep's milk cheese, so 36 is fine. If we were using cow's milk, I would take it up to 40, maybe even 42 degrees centigrade, because we need a firmer curd. But with the sheep's milk, a lower temperature is sufficient. Effectively, we now want to stir, and I'm going to just stir by hand. So, as I say, this is 10 litres of sheep's milk. I'm looking for approximately 2 kilos of cheese out of this, and 8 litres of whey. So I've been stirring the curd for about 20 minutes now, very, very gently. And the temperature is now 36, 37 degrees centigrade. I felt the curd, and now it feels rubbery. It's bouncy, slightly bouncy. If the curd is very soft and just mushes up before you, while you press it, it means it's not ready yet. It's not ready to come out. So I feel now it is. I've got the bouncy curd. It's also shrunk, so it's a lot smaller pieces. You can see all the cubes have gone down. They're about half the size they were. Interestingly, the finer you cut your curd, the harder the cheese becomes on average. It works for most cheeses, so obviously the more cut surfaces, the more cut surfaces you've got for the whey to bleed out of the curd, and the drier the cheese becomes. So when they actually make a Parmesan style cheese, they'll actually cut the Parmesan with a whisk, so you have very, very fine cubes. So we're now going to start draining the curds, draining the whey off, and end up with the curds. I'm just going to move this down here. And in this case I've got another saucepan. Okay, now we're going to separate the curds of the whey. So I've just let my curds drop down to the bottom of the pan for 5 minutes. I've also got here now some cheese molds, my cheese molds. So using a plastic jug, pouring the curds and the whey into the cheese mold. Because there's lots of holes in there, you'll notice the whey drains through and the curds will just start sticking together nicely. And that's really what we're after. Do another one. Sure, I mean, we should probably make should fill up 3 of these cheese molds. So the whey, the liquid part, I'm obviously keeping. That's in this other saucepan below, because we're going to make the ricotta cheese from that. Got all my curds out there. Put that on top. In fact, what I'll do is double stack them for a minute. So now I'm going to put some weight on that in a minute and start pressing it. Meanwhile, we're going to make a ricotta. Now I've got some halloumi cheese that we've just made. I've got 3 cheese molds, and I need a bit of pressure to press them. But before I do that, we just take that out and have a look at it. You can see, because it's nice and warm, and it's forming a nice square shape very, very quickly. Doesn't need an awful lot of pressure. Just turn them over. Same again here. And I'll probably do that another couple of times while we're waiting for the whey to come up. And then I to put that, I've got a 4-pound weight here, pop it on the top and just let that press. So halloumi's been pressing now for about half an hour. Just going to turn them once more. What I mean is you can see it's creating this nice block of halloumi cheese. You need the pressure on it to help stick the curd together, but it doesn't take long. Get it to this sort of bouncy, rubbery texture. Last one. Here. Okay. Finally there. Pop them in there. And while we're doing a ricotta, I'm just going to leave them under pressure with a 4-pound weight. And then go back to ricotta. So ricotta's heating up. Ricotta is a low-fat whey cheese. And this is 100% sheep's milk ricotta, which is the B's Knees in ricotta cheese making. So what I'm looking at now, I've got whey, liquid whey, and it's 65 degrees, so I need to get it up to about 85, 90. Very little fat in it, but high protein. There's a lot of protein, and there's 2 proteins in milk. The main one is casein, which ends up in our cheese, and the second protein is albumin protein, similar to eggs. And what we're looking for now is after, when it gets to about 75 degrees centigrade, we'll start keeping an eye on it, and we'll see lots of little flecks of cheese begin to flocculate, as I call it, begin to float to the surface within that body. And what's actually happening is the heat is precipitating that protein, which is rising up to the surface and causing ricotta cheese. So ricotta is a very healthy cheese. It's low fat but high protein cheese. I can see I've got a nice pancake. It's almost like a pancake, thick layer of ricotta cheese floated to the surface on here. I'm now going to skim it off really gently. And what I tend to do is put it into this soft cheese mould, such as this. This is actually a ricotta cheese mould. And they've got lots of holes in them because you need to drain it very, very quickly. And very carefully, we just scoop it out in layers, and just like that. Just putting it on the top of the cheese. It'll sink straight to the bottom if you're not careful, so you don't want to stir it up at all. I sometimes use a sieve, a mesh sieve, but in this case, this is ricotted really well, and it's thick enough that it lifts up nicely with a layer of cheese with a spoon. You can see. So we're going to have a full basket full of ricotta from 10 litres of sheep's milk. What you do is, ricotta is a funny cheese. It doesn't. Sometimes we don't get an awful lot of cheese out of it. Other times you get a massive amount out of it. A lot of it depends on your cheese making, how you got on with it, with actually getting the cheese out at the beginning, the quality of the milk. Halloumi's been pressing for an hour, maybe an hour and a half now. We're now going to put the halloumi cheese slices into the hot whey, because what we need to do is cook the halloumi cheese. It needs cooking for about 30 minutes to 40 minutes at 85 degrees centigrade. What this achieves is it actually, basically it locks the protein structure together. And it's a unique process for halloumi cheese making. And it means that when you cook the halloumi, when you fry it or grill it after you've made it, it doesn't melt. It basically stops the cheese melting. So if we make mozzarella, when we make mozzarella, we need the cheese. We need it, and we break up that protein structure. Halloumi, we don't. So it locks it. Think of it as a matrix locked, and it pops in there, and then we'll let it cook. Third block, do it again. So again, we'll slice this into 3 slices, not too thick. Pop them in the hot whey. And this is at 85 degrees centigrade now. And effectively, we're going to cook the curd. What we're trying to do is to stop the cheese melting. And this cooking process is the key point to halloumi cheese making. No other cheese goes through this process of being cooked in the hot whey. Remember, there's no starter culture in there. The only thing that's preserving this cheese is the fact that it's in a hot way, and we're going to add salt to it. We're going to brine the cheese. But once the halloumi's had its half-hour cooking, it normally floats to the surface, so you know it's done. We can also check the temperature by putting the thermometer in there and make sure it's got a core temperature of 75 degrees centigrade. That sort of temperature, then you know that the cheese has been cooked thoroughly and it won't melt when you fry it. We're now going to just add some salt to it. For the home cheese maker, it's much easier to add salt by hand. In the dairy here, we'll actually put all the halloumi in brine in a salty water solution, about 60% brine, and leave it overnight, and the salt will then go into the cheese. But for the home cheese maker, it's just best to add a little bit of salt, because you can add it to taste. Rub it in all around the cheese, pinch on top here. We're aiming for about 2%, so if you're very methodical about it, you can actually weigh your block of cheese and work out 2% salt and rub that in. And what the salt does, it adds flavour, preservative, and keep the cheese will then keep. As a home cheese maker, what I suggest you do, once you rub the salt in, leave it to cool. When it's nice and cold, pop it in a Tupperware container with a lid on and keep it in the fridge. I suggest eating within 3 days. That's generally all it's going to keep for, and you'll want to eat it anyway. If you want to eat it quickly, you can. So our ricotta cheese, it's been draining for 2-3 hours. I've also had it in the fridge for about an hour, and then we've turned it out of the basket, and it's all ready to eat now. And Steve will be showing you some recipes with that later on today. So the halloumi cheese, we've had it in the fridge, been cooling down here for 2-3 hours. For a container. Just going to take a block out and show you how we're going to cook it. In fact, Steve's going to show you how to cook it in a minute. We'll just see what texture we've got. Lovely. I can feel it's quite firm, rubbery, typical halloumi texture. This is a halloumi cheese, so just lay that out there. What we've made today is a result of today's cheese making. This much halloumi cheese, quite a lot, almost 2 kilos of halloumi cheese, all 100% sheep's milk, and we've probably got another ½ kilo of ricotta cheese made out of the way as well. So great value cheese making afternoon.
Thank you, Mark, and I'm sure you can agree a great way to make halloumi at home using sheep's milk, cow's milk, or even goat's milk if it's your preference. So what I'm going to show you is how to cook our halloumi, the halloumi you've made at home. There's a few things that you're going to need. Obviously the halloumi that you've made fresh or cooked. Plate, show off your creation at the end. A bowl for mixing, as we're going to need to mix a bit of mint within your halloumi, just to lift the flavour and add a bit of the Mediterranean to it. A good strong frying pan to go onto the hob. We recommend about medium heat, about 6 on an electric hob would be perfect. Good pair of tongs, barbecue tongs, kitchen tongs, 2 forks, anything you've got hold of, just to be able to turn that in the pan. Also a good sharp knife that will be able to cut our halloumi. So first thing I'll do is going to prepare the halloumi with the mint. I'm going to take out a nice large piece that we're going to decorate with our mint. Put the rest back in the fridge. It'll stay fresh for later. So by cutting your halloumi, you're looking about 1/4 of an inch, up to ½ an inch, depending on your preference. Just cutting your way through, just making sure a nice even consistency, which when you're turning them in the pan, you'll see full consistency. And all the way through to the end, popping them into your bowl, And then grab your meat and just sprinkle in a good teaspoon, good heat teaspoon over the top, which will decorate all the halloumi itself. Give it a good mix in, make sure all of that is decorated within. And as you'll be able to see, the halloumi now is taking on that real Mediterranean feel. Okay, so with your pan, put it onto your preheated hob. Obviously move away anything that doesn't need to be in the shop. Let that warm through. And again, trying to keep this at medium temperature, about 6 altogether, as we can cook our halloumi. So, our halloumi is the mint, all decorated within, and literally we want everything face down, straight into the bowl itself. Get a nice little sizzle, you know the pan is ready. And then just move your halloumi around to make sure everything is facing the pan, nearer the centre of the pan itself. Now, a few things about halloumi and cooking. If you find that your halloumi, when you open it, is very watery, that's because there's been whey left in the pan. There's nothing wrong with this at all. Obviously, through cooking, it's best to take that out before you cook the halloumi itself. We're using no oil here. With dry frying, so a very simple way of cooking, a very healthy way of cooking at the same time. Whilst the halloumi is cooking away, if you ever cook your halloumi and your halloumi starts to melt within the pan, then it's just a sign that that halloumi may be a bit older in your fridge or your home that you've had it for, or maybe it's a later date on there. So it's a good way to show how old your halloumi may be. If it sticks together and very firm, as ours is, because we know it's very fresh, this is a beautiful way to be able to cook the halloumi. What we're looking for is about a minute each side, and what a minute will do is start to bring that salt to the edge and make it nice and marshmallow in the centre. It's a beautiful way to cook halloumi. So by cooking this in here, we're just going to clear up the rest of our table, make sure we're all clean and tidy, ready for the next process. Okay, nice cooked pan. Roughly a minute has passed, and it's worth now checking your halloumi. We're not looking for a dark brown at this point. We're looking for a light brown colour. Just by turning that over, you'll be able to witness how the colour has changed. It looks beautiful. It smells amazing. The fresh mint that we put on this, it just really brings the halloumi to life. And if I'll take one out of the pan, you can see how the colour is slowly changing on your screen. And that's the back. So we're just looking for a light coating of the brown in colour. If we do this at a very high heat, obviously it's going to cook very fast. There's nothing wrong with that at all, it's just you don't want to burn your halloumi after spending this afternoon making it. But for what it's worth just giving it that extra bit of attention, bit of patience to get the evenly cooked throughout. There's various other ways you can cook halloumi. You can fry it, obviously with oil if that's your preference. You can deep fry it, beautiful way of doing it, and also grill it. Grilling is great, and the summer coming, something like a barbecue, it's going to be awesome. Okay, so we're almost there now. Just going to double check the other side. This is roughly, we're looking up to 5 or 6 minutes maximum, and that's from heating the pan to cooking the halloumi itself. That's going to give us a nice even coating of cooked each side, nice marshmallow in the centre, and just brings the salt to the edge. A beautiful way of cooking halloumi. I'm just going to check the other side now. Just double check cooking has evenly come through, and what you'll be able to see is a beautiful way of cooking the halloumi at the same time. You'll be able to see some of the pieces that have been on the outside of the pan, slightly lighter. But if I bring you just a quick look, you'll be able to see what I mean. And just by turning these over, again, we know we're cooked. Okay, so after being in the pan for roughly 1.5 minutes up to 2 minutes each side, depending on your heat, your halloumi will now be ready for presentation on your plate. So what we're going to do is take out our halloumi and then just dress our plate ready for our guests, ourselves, for whoever's coming round to enjoy beautiful Sussex halloumi made here at Weald Dairy. As we turn this over, I can really smell the mint now. It's very, very pungent, very fragrant in here. Okay. Turn our hob off. And there we have it. Dry fried Sussex halloumi with a sprig of mint using 100% sheep's milk made in Sussex. Now, obviously food is made to be eaten. One of the things I love to put with halloumi is a chilli dipping sauce or a chilli jam or anything like this. Is a beautiful way of just bringing out those flavours at the same time. I'm just going to drizzle this on top of the halloumi. And as it's lunchtime here at Weald Dairy, I'm going to be enjoying this afternoon. Beautiful sunny day, halloumi, bit of chilli, nice glass of beer, glass of wine, sitting outside with friends, enjoying. A beautiful way to do it. So, thank you very much. Wow. Excuse me. You really get all the flavours coming through. It's a beautiful sweetness to the sheep's milk. The mint is really cutting through the saltiness as well. Being known for a salty cheese, it's a beautiful way of enjoying that with chilli. Just the whole complexity together is mouth-watering. As much as I want to dig into this as well, I appreciate we have the ricotta to look at, which will be the next thing I'll be coming to. I think someone better take that away from me quick. So just to recap, what we've done is we've taken a dry pan and we've got the hob to about 6. By doing that, we're keeping the pan relatively hot, but not too hot so it's going to burn. Good pair of tongs, good knife, good chopping board, and by cooking that each side for roughly 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes each side, you'll get that nice browning colour that you saw. By doing that, you know that it's going to be a nice marshmallow inside. Now, if you leave it to go cold, for example, halloumi then takes on that squeaky cheese name, which is a beautiful way to do it and great with kids as well to have that. Mixing with the mint, which is something that we've added as well, which you can do as soon as the halloumi is made, or you can do it just before cooking to make sure that fresh mint punch of flavour is coming out as well. Obviously we've used the chilli dipping sauce, that can be used in a whole medley of recipes. One of my favourites is using quinoa and chopped peppers, various different herbs and spices to go with it, and halloumi on top with just a nice drizzle of the chilli dipping sauce as well. Beautiful. Okay, so next we're going to talk about the ricotta. And ricotta, as we found out from Mark, is a byproduct of halloumi. And what we mean by a byproduct, we have to make the ricotta before we can cook the halloumi itself in its own way. What is ricotta? It's those proteins that we saw come together when Mark was showing us to then flocculate on the top, which we then carefully take off and make our ricotta cheese. Now, being 100% sheep's ricotta, is like an amazing superfood. So what could we do with ricotta? If we're Italian, we could use that on our pasta, we could use it in filo pastry. There's so many different recipes out there on the internet and around. There's some very old recipes as well that use ricotta as a beautiful staple food. Ricotta can be made from any cheese. We've made it from halloumi, but as long as you keep that way back after you've made your cheese at home, ricotta can be, again, following Mark's recipe, taken to a point of temperature, and those proteins again will flocculate on the top for you to take off. Definitely worth making ricotta at home if you're an avid cheesemaker like ourselves here at Weald Dairy. It's just a great byproduct that is so fresh and very tasty as well. Very creamy, very mild, a nice sweetness because we use the sheep's milk as well. Again, using cow's milk give a different complex of flavour. One of the things that I love to do at home, which is what I want to show you today, is how to use ricotta as a dessert. Okay, so ricotta as a dessert, a beautiful way to do this, and something that's not really used as often. Being ricotta, very mild, very creamy. Now, I would love to be able to share some strawberries with you today. Being on lockdown, it's very difficult for us to get out and just for things like strawberries. If we're going to do a shop, then we're going to do a shop. But it was one of those things I didn't really want today. So the strawberries would accompany this dish amazingly, and especially if you're growing strawberries at home. Beautiful way to do this. So I'm going to show you, it's so simple, and hopefully you'll be able to comment below, give us some feedback on different ways that you can use ricotta at home as a dessert, as well as a starter or main course as well. But this is such a simple way of doing this because you're getting the flavour of the ricotta as well as the other things as well. So what I'm going to do, take a plate and our sharp knife that we used, and just slice it like a cake off the back of the ricotta. Let me say it again there. And just by sliding this out, you can see the beautiful colour the ricotta has become. And literally, just by putting that on, normally, and please rest assured there would be some strawberries on this. All I'm going to do is take some honey and drizzle the honey over the top. Very simply done, executed very well by myself. As a dessert as well, very low in fat, so you can eat to your heart's content with this. A beautiful way of doing it. A very simple, a very hearty dish. I'd recommend that to anyone. It's so simple, but so flavoursome as well. Just with that honey, giving you that extra sweetness that the sheep's milk provides as well. You can also try it with treacle. You can try it with various different sweet sauces as well. Again, we would love to hear your feedback on how to do this. I'm sure some of you are expecting some amazing ricotta dessert from us, but simplicity with cheese is superb. We enjoy cheese boards, we enjoy various different foods as they are. At Weald Dairy, we're not chefs as such. We are cheesemakers, and we pride ourselves on that. And some of the people that follow us, some of the chefs that are out there that use our products and our whole range of products, give you that information on how to use various different cheeses in the recipe. I could have another bit of this. This is rather Moorish. The fluffiness of the ricotta, you can see just it lends itself to cooking at home, filo pastry, the top of pasta sprinkled on. Really gorgeous, very simply done. And there we have it. Excuse me. Ricotta, which has come from our halloumi, dry fried our halloumi. We've had our lunch, We're now tucking into a dessert. Very simple. That's a job well done. So I'd like to thank you all for taking part, for watching our video, for interacting with us. Don't forget, @Weald Dairy is our handle on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter and YouTube, wherever you're watching this video now. Have a look at some of our other videos. You can see some famous faces that support us. You can see the dairy itself, and we'll be doing various other videos. If there's any requests, please send them in. Lots of comments that we've had have asked for various different tastings and other videos. Maybe you'd like to buy our halloumi instead of making it at home. On our website, it will give you the ability to put in your postcode, and locally it will show you the shops near you that you'll be able to buy our products. Now, not everybody will stock our halloumi. Some people stock this part of the range, some people stock the full range. If they don't, you can buy from us direct. Failing that, speak to that shop that stock our cheese, and I'm sure by the following week we'll have that in store for you. If it's on lockdown, we are still doing home deliveries. Home deliveries can be ordered through our website, and we can send it to you pretty much overnight, depending on the parcel delivery service that is currently underway. And at the moment we're looking at about a 2-day maximum delivery time, and that will come to you or to your loved one as a gift, to whoever you'd like to share your halloumi with. A refrigerated box will be sent to you just with some ice in the top and your different range of cheeses. And I would aim you to look at our website, and you should see the full range of cheeses that we have. A lot of people ask us how many cheeses we make at Weald Dairy. We used to think we made about 15. I think that's probably what our brochure says. But with Mark Hardy being as innovative as he is, we're always seeing new products come out. At the moment we're trialling Brighton U. Brighton U is again a sheep's milk cheese using blue. We're known for Brighton Blue at Weald Dairy, one of our signature cheeses. And if you can find Brighton U, or if you'd like to try some, then please let us know. So I just want to thank you. Just message us below and send us a direct link, send us a direct message. And if there's any feedback that you have about the video, what we do at Weald Dairy, regarding deliveries, regarding cheese making, regarding when we're off lockdown, about tours, about cheese making, about us teaching cheese making, which we do at Weald Dairy normally all year round, just currently not at the moment. And thank you for the requests asking us when we'll be cheese making next. And also some of the companies that do follow us. There's a whole range of different companies that we support, but the support we get here at Weald Dairy is second to none. We're very, very, very fortunate. So thank you very much. Thank you for watching. My name's Stephen, and Mark was making the halloumi for us earlier. Thank you.